Ready the notes. Okay, so the meeting recording has started. I'm preparing my slides that I want to use. Okay. Should we start with overview of chapter 10 first ataupun kita masuk kepada tutorial chapter 10 terus? Which one would you guys prefer? Imbas ke semula kah terus kita tengok soalan? Overview lah dulu. Okay. Then I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is the slide that I sent to you for your lesson. Okay, so this is for chapter 10, growth. Ada 3 subtopik. Dalam subtopik pertama, measurement of growth, kita mula dengan definisi untuk growth. Okay, ada 2 definisi yang biasa kita guna. Ini kalau kamu perlu bagi definisi dalam contoh kamu membuat karangan kah, macam essay kan, ataupun jawab soalan structure, then you just choose one of the term in the hash. Okay, kalau ada slash begini, means kamu pilih salah satu. Tapi kamu punya exam kali ni tiada juga structure ataupun essay. So, asalkan kamu pandai baca dan pilih maksud yang betul, okay lah. Okay, right. So this is the first definition we sometimes use. Second definition we sometimes use. And two methods that we can use to measure growth of multicellular organisms, and one method we usually use to measure growth of unicellular organisms. Okay, so ini saya sudah elaborate dalam video. Ini sepintas lalu sahaja. And then I also cover what is wet mass and dry mass, berat basah dan berat kering. Apa kebaikan kita guna berat basah, apa kebaikan kita guna berat kering, dan mana satu yang lebih tepat. Of course, this is not the only way to measure growth, but this is the 2 most common way that we use to measure growth. Ini yang paling kerap digunakan. Okay, and then daripada definisi, kita pilih cara untuk sukat pembesaran, kita kumpul data, kita plot data dalam graf, kita akan dapat satu graf yang digelar sebagai growth curve. Dan itu bawa kita kepada subtopik 10.2, kita belajar pasal absolute growth curve dengan absolute growth rate curve. Graf pembesaran, graf kadar pembesaran. Okay, so in your lesson, okay, absolute growth curve ini kita belajar 2 jenis. Satu adalah yang basic, S-shape ataupun sigmoid curve. Ini agak penting lah. Kamu akan nampak sigmoid curve ini selagi kamu belajar pasal biology atau population or whatever. You should know what happens during the lag phase, exponential phase, decelerating phase, and plateau phase. Kalau kamu mau explain untuk satu individu punya pembesaran, contoh kamu mau cerita pasal itu kucing daripada dia anak kucing yang baru lahir kepada kucing tua yang dekat mau mati, then you adjust your sentence a little bit. If you're talking about a population, contoh kamu sedang cakap pasal bakteria yang sedang tumbuh di atas mouse kamu, okay, then you need to change your sentence a little bit. Kita boleh gunakan graph yang sama untuk menjelaskan pembesaran yang berlaku pada badan anak kucing itu, anak kucing, tarik sudah, ataupun pada bakteria dalam sesuatu koloni. Cuma kamu pandai-pandai ubah ayat sedikit. Okay. And then the second curve that we learn about in 10.2 is the human growth curve. Ini adalah graf pembesaran manusia. Pembesaran manusia kita belajar pasal ada 5 fasa, 5 phases, infant which is baby time, childhood which is budak-budak time, Adolescence, remaja time, baru mau up. Adult, which is what you're entering into now, you are learning to be adults, dewasa sudah, and aging, when you gradually grow old and you get ready to die. Okay, so those are the 5 phases. Cuba untuk tahu kenapa dia lebih cepat dan kenapa dia lebih landai lah. Okay, I mentioned this a lot in the video also. And if there is any part in this video or in this text that you don't understand, feel free to ask, blah, 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 blah. And then we learn about growth rate curve. I don't know what else to explain that I don't already explain in the video. Sebab nama dia pun sudah agak direct. Dia adalah kadar pembesaran. It's the rate of growth throughout time. That's it. Lepas tu adalah kamu boleh banding antara absolute growth curve dengan absolute growth rate curve. Tapi saya rasa biasanya pada silibus sekarang, diorang kurang tekankan bahagian ini. Biasa diorang suka tekankan adalah bahagian 10.3. So dalam 10.3 kita belajar pasal beberapa curve. Okay, which is what you're going to see later. Okay, the first one is limited growth curve. So kamu ingat kacang, padi, peas, whatever. Second is unlimited growth curve, and this one you ingat pokok durian. Okay. Atau apa-apa saja pokok yang ada di hutan sana lah, yang tinggi-tinggi, kayu dia keras tu. The third graph that you need to know about, you don't actually see the graph, but we talk about the growth rate of all the organs and the body size. Growth pattern yang kita belajar dalam 10.3, growth pattern ketiga, isometric growth curve, cuma cakap pasal kalau seluruh badan itu sedang membesar, kepala pun ikut membesar, jantung dia pun ikut membesar, paru-paru dia pun ikut membesar pada kadar yang sama. Dan biasa kamu perlu ingat contoh haiwan yang ikut growth pattern inilah. Contoh yang paling biasa kami guna adalah ikan. Because it's easiest to draw and also it's easiest to understand. And the fourth growth pattern is allometric growth curve. Okay, so this is when you talk about badan sedang membesar, tapi kadar tumbesaran otak, kadar tumbesaran paru-paru, kadar tumbesaran jantung, perut, kulit, tulang, dan sebagainya mungkin berbeza. So ini dia sedang compare seluruh badan dengan setiap organ dalam badan, mungkin ada perbezaan. Dan biasa kita gunakan contoh human organ. So ingat dalam human kita ada belajar pasal growth rate of human yang dalam 10.2. Dan kita juga belajar pasal growth pattern of human organ. Kalau kita cakap pasal organ, kita tengok ini, allometric growth curve. Dan bukan manusia sajalah, banyak mamalia lain juga, mamalia, burung-burung, ikan-ikan sebagainya pun okay, not all fish, only some. Like whale is not a fish, whale is a mammal. Follows the allometric growth curve. Dan ini biasa graph yang kita gunakan untuk manusia punya organ. Kamu boleh ingat ini graph? Okay, sudah. Okay, blah blah blah, we have that ugly graph. Okay, and then we have this growth pattern number 5, intermittent growth curve. Haiwan apa yang boleh menunjukkan intermittent growth curve? Anybody? Anyone?
Butterfly.
Okay, butterfly. Thank you, Mas Mira. So yes, so example is butterfly boleh tunjukkan intermittent growth curve sebab dia adalah insect. Ataupun segala udang-udang, ketam-ketam, grasshopper, kumbang-kumbang, dan sebagainya. Asalkan dia ada exoskeleton, dia akan tunjukkan intermittent growth curve. I should also know a little bit about ecdysis. Ada satu soalan dalam pra-PSPM yang merujuk kepada graf ini, walaupun dia punya soalan putar belit sedikit, yang pasal soft shell crab itu. Okay, blah, 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 blah. And I also mentioned in the video, if you haven't watched the video, watch it after this. Saya ada cakap graf ini dengan graf ini, kedua-duanya adalah pasal intermittent growth. Tapi kenapa ini dia ada gradient ke atas? Kenapa dia punya garis ini ada naik sedikit? Garis yang untuk graf ini mendatar sahaja, ada sebabnya. You have to look at the parameter of growth. Ini sedang sukat apa? Dan ini sedang sukat apa? So take note of that, especially if you're looking at the questions. Dan dalam subtopik ini juga kita ambil kesempatan untuk belajar pasal apa itu complete metamorphosis dan incomplete metamorphosis. And it can be shown in these pictures. Okay, this is beautiful butterfly. This is ugly cockroach yang kalau kamu tidak cuci piring, tidak buang sampah, kamu akan jumpa yang kedua. Okay, so that is pretty much it for chapter 10. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So far, before we go into the tutorial questions, do you guys have any questions? Soalan berkenaan ke? Kamu sedang fikir pasal tumbusalan kamu sendiri, kenapa saya tidak tinggi-tinggi ini, Miss? Itu pun saya tidak tahu, saya pun pendek juga masih. Any questions at all before we go on, or you guys want to continue to the tutorial? Okay. All right. We don't have any questions. Then I can stop sharing this one. And I can share. Okay, Lim has a question. Miss, is limited growth curve be applied to human? No. Okay, untuk soalan Lim, dia tanya kalau limited growth curve boleh guna untuk humans. No, because humans, we use the human growth curve. The human growth curve is two sigmoid curves together. But, okay. Mari kita tengok balik the human growth curve. Okay, if we're looking at this human growth curve, we don't use limited growth curve, but you can still see the trend that we are going to grow, then slow down, then grow, then slow down, and later slowly go through the aging phase. Our cells will die faster than we can regenerate, and later die naturally. Macam mana cakap nyawa kita terhad, tapi growth pattern kita digelar sebagai human growth curve dan bukan limited growth curve. Does that answer your question, Lim? Yes. Yeah. Moral of the story is eventually everybody dies, so make sure you're enjoying your life. Don't live life with regrets. Stop presenting this one. And now I'm gonna present this one. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna go through these questions. Answer scheme saya ada juga post di dalam GC. Where's my pen? Answer scheme saya ada post di GC, so you can always refer to the answer scheme later. Okay, so there's a few questions that I want to focus on. Before I ask you some questions, do you guys have any questions for me? Ada yang kamu sudah coba jawab dan kamu betul-betul stuck? Okay, then I'm just gonna go through the objective questions dulu lah ya. Alright, so for the objective questions, let's have a look. We have 10 questions here. Number 1 shows sigmoid curve. Refer to figure 1, answers question 1 and 2. Which one is the exponential phase? This one should be very easy. Okay, this one is C. At which phase does the food decrease and the waste product concentration increase? This one should be C. Any problems with this question? Okay, doesn't look like we have problems. I'm going to continue. All right, so question number 3, the word allometric growth describes. Ini yang contoh ikan tadi. So pilih maksud yang paling tepat. So this one is C. No, sorry. Allometric is not ikan. Allometric is orang. Sorry. Saya yang kebingung. Number 4, which of the following combinations is true? Okay, for this one, the text is not visible for who designed this dang table. Okay. Right, so for question number 4, which of the following combinations is true? Untuk A, unlimited growth is when the growth of an organism is with maximum of fixed size. So question A, option A is incorrect. Option B, isometric growth. Growth of an organism's parts are at different rate. This part is incorrect. Isometric adalah untuk ikan. Okay, so ikan should be at same rate. Allometric growth is for human. Growth of an organism's parts are at the same rate. So ini tidak tepat. Intermittent growth, this is the one for kumbang-kumbang. Okay, the growth of an organism is discontinuous because it undergo ecdysis. So answer for question number 4 should be D. This one should be very simple. All right, and then for question number 5, which of the statements below is true? Number 1, pattern of growth curve of most organisms is sigmoid. Option number 2, pattern of growth of human organs is allometric. Number 3, in general, growth of human organ is limited. Anybody want to share their answer for question number 5? Anybody? Kasi sedang check skema jawapan nih. I just need a response so I know I'm not talking to myself, that my mic is not muted. Okay, thank you, Marnie. So answer for question number 5 is D. Ini ada daripada maklumat ini yang kamu boleh dapat di lecture note, tapi dia macam dia bagi peluang untuk kamu fikir di luar kotak juga lah. Okay, so untuk number 1, pattern of growth curve for most organism is sigmoid. Yes, this part is memang ada dalam lecture note. Hampir semua organisme akan ada ikut sigmoid growth curve. Pattern of human growth of human organs is allometric. Ini pun ada dalam kita punya lecture note. Poin ketiga, in general, growth of human organs is limited. Ini yang macam berfikiran di luar kotak sih. So this is a question that is a little bit out of the box. Logically, if you try to think about it, yes, our organs are limited. Otak kamu tidak akan membesar sampai dia melebihi daripada kamu punya tengkorak. Kamu punya jantung tidak akan membesar melebihi daripada ruang yang ada dalam kamu punya tulang rusuk. Kamu punya hati, your liver, is not going to grow so much that it explodes out of your body. So all of our organs are limited to some size and they will stop growing at certain age. So this third point is also correct. No problems with this question kan? I mean, of course, kalau kamu mau tengok daripada nota, dia 1 dengan 2 sudah betul. So, of course, the only option left is D jugalah. So, yeah, I hope we're able to figure that out. Okay, number 6. Answer is B. Sebab dia cakap, woody perennial plants. Okay, so jenis pokok. Answer is B. And number 7. For question number 7, can anyone share to me their answer? The type of growth pattern that occurs in monocotyledonous leaves is or before you share your answer, you tell me what is an example of plant with monocotyledonous leaves. Apa contoh organism yang monocotyledonous leaves? Anyone? Beth? Patricia, are you here? Beth, tolong bagi contoh satu organism yang tergolong dalam monocotyledonous leaves punya group. Kah kamu langsung tidak tahu apa itu monocotyledonous leaves? Oh, okay. Leah, very good. Lilies, okay, very good. Dengan Uzain pun ada cakap dalam chat, tulips. So yeah, those are two good examples of monocotyledonous plants. Monocotyledon dengan dicotyledon adalah dua pembahagian untuk plants, okay? So kalau kamu tengok daun-daun di rumput-rumput dan pokok-pokok, kalau dia macam begini, tirus, dan jalur dia lurus begitu, that is monocot. Kalau dia macam bulat sedikit atau bujur sedikit, di tengah dia keras, lepas tu dia begini. Okay, macam daun-daun pokok-pokok biasa, this is dicot. So kalau ini adalah untuk pokok-pokok besar, yang monocotyledonous adalah untuk yang tumbuhan yang dahan dia lembut-lembut. Batang dia lembut. Macam segala rumput-rumput, paddies, kebanyakan sayur-sayuran. Okay, not all. Some sayur-sayuran. Okay, so those are things with limited growth. So answer for number 7 is A. Number 8. Moving on to number 8. Which of the following represents incomplete metamorphosis? Incomplete metamorphosis ini adalah contoh butterfly kah lipas tadi? Is incomplete metamorphosis for butterfly or for cockroach? Lipas. Correct.
But
So you remember incomplete metamorphosis is for the punya lipas. So lipas will have nymphs. Then you look for the one yang ada perkataan nymph. Mana yang dia punya urutan betul. Egg, nymph, imago, betul. Larva, nymph, adult, salah. Sebab dia mesti start dengan egg. Tidak terus tiba-tiba jadi larva. So answer for 8 is D. Okay, this one should be direct. And then we go on to question number 9. Graph below shows the variation in patterns. Blah, 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 blah. Which of the following correctly identifies P, Q, R, and S? What is the easiest way to answer this question? Ada satu cara yang sangat senang untuk jawab soalan ini. Mana satu garisan dulu kamu identify? Okay, ini adalah untuk human organ ya. Q. Hmm, yes, okay. Marnie wants to start with Q. Boleh juga. For me, I will start with P. Sebab garisan yang paling pelik adalah P. And dia yang paling senang untuk kamu kenal pasti. Yang memuncak semasa kamu kanak-kanak, dia melebihi final size of organ itu. Lepas tu dia akan pelan-pelan turun. Itu adalah lymphoid organ, sistem limpa kita. So you identify what is P dulu. Okay, so here I have the lymphoid tissue is P. And then I see this is the only correct option. Yang A, B dengan D semua salah. So my answer is definitely 9C. Kalau kamu mau start dengan Q ataupun R ataupun S pun tiada masalah juga. Tapi bagi saya yang senang keliru, saya suka start dengan graf yang paling pelik atau paling menonjol dia punya bentuk. Okay, good one, Uzair. Alright, then we're going to the final question. Dia pun ketarak juga ni dia punya jawapan final ni. Okay. The most accurate in measuring growth is D, dry mass. Okay, soalan nombor 10 ada sebalang masalah? Ataupun any question in 1 to 10, any problems with it? Or all okay? Alright, okay. Then I'm gonna quickly go through part B. So this ugly, okay, saya perlu macam transition into new segment. Okay, tadi itu adalah untuk objektif. Sekarang kita pergi kepada structure questions untuk chapter 10. So here you see this very ugly chart that shows the relative proportions of your body parts during your growth. Okay, so when you are fetus, that's how big your head is compared to the rest of your body. When you are just born, that's how big your head is compared to the rest of your body. When you are adult, that's how small your head is compared to the rest of your body. You are not cartoon character with very, very big head and very small body, thankfully. When you see this chart, it is definitely talking about allometric growth pattern. Kalau kamu mau tulis allometric growth sahaja pun tepat. Allometric growth pattern sahaja pun tepat. Okay, so after that, you give example of each of these isometric, limited, unlimited, intermittent growth. Ini kamu boleh gunakan contoh dalam lecture note. Do you have any strange examples that are not from the lecture note that you are not sure is correct or not that you want to ask me now? Mungkin kamu cari contoh sendiri, tapi kamu kurang pasti contoh kamu betul atau tidak. Oh, sorry. Ini kamu perlu bagi definisi dulu. Bagi definition, baru kamu bagi example. Sebab dia 2 markah. Any fun examples? Yes, no, yes, no. Crabs. Okay. Leah, where do you put the crabs? Number 1, 2, 3, or 4? Okay, Leah's answer is number 1. Isometric growth. Yeah, yeah. Crabs can go in here. Yes. Crabs are accepted here. Boleh. Intermittent pun boleh. Very good. And okay, turtle. Turtle. Liv, where did you try to put the turtle? 1. Let's Google. Because turtle is supposed to be amphibian. Reptile? Is turtle reptile or amphibian? Let us Google sama-sama. Okay, turtle is a reptile. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Oh, look, you can watch a video of ring turtles mating. Do that in your own time. Reptile, reptile, reptile. If I have to guess, mm, I think uh, it should be under allometric. I think we don't have enough data about how big are the organs of the turtle because kalau kita mau tahu dia adalah isometric ataupun allometric, kita perlu bedah dan tengok dia punya size organ berbanding dengan dia punya badan. No, allometric is not for human only. The most common example is human organ because we can study our own organs, we can do surgery on humans. We also studied whales, birds, and most mammals, if you remember in the lecture note. Okay, so turtle would go under allometric growth, in my opinion. Tapi kita tidak tahu secara pasti lah sebab turtle kan sekarang haiwan yang terpelihara, it's an endangered species, so we cannot just dissect the turtle whenever we want. And people who do dissect turtles are not scientists. They are people who want to eat the turtle. So, yang mau kaji tidak akan bedah. Yang bedah bukan buka turtle untuk dikaji, tapi untuk dimakan. Okay, but long story short, it should be under allometric. Okay, sorry, iklan panjang. Yes, you can just use other examples. Yeah, for this one, you can use like fish or whatever. Fish is the easiest one. You don't even have to tell the species of the fish. Okay. And then one extra answer, one extra question here, dia consider macam high order thinking lah for your level now. Give one example of exponential growth. Excuse me. Aduh. Good thing I'm at home, quarantine. This way. Give one example of exponential growth curve. So exponential growth curve means your curve looks like this and dia pergi atas, ke atas. But it's different from unlimited growth. Unlimited growth means dia ada sigmoid dengan sigmoid dengan sigmoid dengan sigmoid dengan sigmoid dengan sigmoid. Exponential is dia ada leg phase terus dia naik saja. So this one, you cannot use 3. You have to use something else. And there's actually only one answer. Did anyone try to answer this one? Question 1C. Anybody want to try? Akun kalah. Give up. You want me to give answer? Human population. Okay, very good, Sheila. So the answer for 1C, there is only one option actually, which is the human population. Only the human population growth curve. Let me try to find population growth curve and try to put that in your picture. Yeah. So I got this picture from the internet. This is a growth curve that shows the human populations in the world from 1000 AD until now. So you can see here, this follows the exponential curve that I was talking about. Dia daripada dia mendatar begini saja, lag phase, terus kepada exponential phase. Lepas itu dia tiada itu decelerating phase. Dan setakat ini kita belum lagi nampak decelerating and plateau ataupun decelerating and decrease. There are many reasons why for human population, we are the only creatures on Earth to follow this growth pattern. I think we'll discuss this sometime in the next semester as well. Tapi antara sebab dia adalah kita pandai menggunakan sumber-sumber alam sekitar untuk memanfaatkan diri kita. So one of the reasons why we can stay as an exponential growth curve as a population is because we know how to exploit the resources in our surrounding. Kalau tempat tinggal kita tidak cukup, kita pindah pergi tempat tinggal lain. Bandar terlalu padat, kita buat bangunan tinggi. Makanan tidak cukup, haiwan yang diburu tidak cukup, kita buat kandang, kita pelihara haiwan, sampai kita ada cukup makanan untuk sendiri. Pokok kehabisan buah, kita tanam pokok, tanam padi, tanam segala-gala supaya kita cukup makan. Ada sampah, ada tai-tai terkumpul, kita wujudkan sistem pengurusan sampah, sistem pengurusan perkumbahan air kita. So we know how to manage our waste. One of the reasons why we are still in an exponential phase is because we are also throwing all that waste to somewhere else that is not in our population. So kita memudaratkan alam sekitar. Kita guna apa yang alam sekitar berikan, tapi kita tidak jaga. So that's why we are able to get everything for ourselves. I don't know if in the few thousand years from now, will we eventually reach this phase and this phase or not. Okay, mungkin pada masa akan datang, populasi manusia akan berubah graf dia macam ni, tapi buat masa ini kita punya graf masih nampak macam begini. And we are, I think, well over 7 billion people. Okay? Miss, kalau pandemic sebab, boleh kasih kait sama exponential growth ka, Miss? Yes, you can relate pandemic to exponential growth. So if you have a very big pandemic, then it is possible that your growth curve daripada dia begini, pergi begini, dia landai sedikit. But if your pandemic is not big enough, if pandemic not big enough, then your curve akan mula begini, naik, turun sikit, naik balik. So this is small pandemic. By not big enough, I don't remember the statistic. Macam in 2020, COVID only kills about like what? 5% of the population that it infects. A very big pandemic would mean like, I don't know, 20 to 30% of population. Ataupun lebih banyak lagi. Maybe 50% of the population die because of that pandemic. Then that is a very big pandemic. Kalau 5%, 10% of the population sahaja yang mati disebabkan sesuatu pandemic, then it's not gonna disturb your curve. If you want to learn more about this, mungkin kamu minat kaji pasal penyakit, okay, disease management and that kind of stuff, or you're interested in learning about virus and bacteria and other things that make you sick, then you can go and Google stuff about the Spanish flu, swine flu, apalagi, bubonic plague, that's a fun one. Bubonic, or it's also called the Black Plague. Okay, kalau kamu minat, these things are fun disease stuff to learn about. But of course, it's not just pandemic lah, bukan penyakit saja yang menyebabkan sesuatu population itu boleh menurun. Kalau kamu ingat dalam lecture note, in the decelerating phase, there's also things like not enough food, not enough water, not enough shelter. There is competition. Example of competition, negara ini mau bergaduh dengan negara itu, lepas tu dia berperang, dia tembak-tembak, and then a lot of people die. So that is example of competition that can cause population to decrease in number. So you can use the same graph to explain about animals, bacteria. You can also use it to explain about humans. Okay. Tapi setakat ni, perang kita tidak cukup untuk kacau kita punya graph. So that's why it's still going up. Wow, panjang saya merepek. Okay, I'm going into question number 2. Question number 2 shows general growth curve. This one is talking about number of cells. Dia ada log phase. Who the hell come up with this diagram? Bodohnya diagram dia ni. Okay. I think itu teks dia mau buang tu. Okay, so it has a log phase. Ih, siapa yang buat ini diagram ni? Bodoh betul diagram dia. Does your diagram look okay? Kan saya punya saja yang bodoh sebab saya buka dalam Word. This one should be here. Okay, this one should look like this. Okay, my graph is a little bit less ugly. This graph should make sense now. I think you can see my not ugly graph. Okay. Okay. Figure 3 below shows the general growth curve. The term of the growth curve shown above. This one should be simple. Asalkan dia bentuk S shape, kita boleh cakap dia adalah sigmoid curve ataupun S shaped curve. Okay, and then A, B, C, and D show 4 different parts show different phases in growth. This one should be lag phase, log phase, linear ataupun decelerating phase. And then this one should be stationary ataupun plateau phase. Okay, this one shouldn't be a problem. Explain why A is slow in the beginning. Okay, this one, we are talking about one organism and the number of cells in the organism. Soalan ini, dia sudah tulis di sini, number of cells, bilangan sel. Maksudnya, graf kita ini sedang tengok dalam satu organisme. Mungkin ini adalah satu orang manusia atau satu ekor ikan ataupun satu pokok bayam, whatever. Okay, but it is one organism and the number of cells in that organism. Okay, so why is phase A slow in the beginning? Can anybody suggest a reason why A would be slow in the beginning? Kenapa bila organisme itu dia baru saja lahir ataupun masa dia dalam kandungan, ataupun kalau dia adalah pokok bila dia baru bercambak, kenapa dia perlahan betul untuk membesar? Sebab dia stuck dengan sel yang banyak ke sel yang sedikit? Sedikit sel. Okay, so reason why in this organism, in A, it's gonna be very slow in the beginning is because in A, organism has very few cells, sedikit saja sel dia. Jadi walaupun dia sedang melakukan banyak mitosis, sedikit saja pertumbuhan yang dia dapat buat. It has very few cells, so although it is doing a lot of mitosis, it can only grow a little bit at a time. It's also possible it is adapting to new environment. Kalau ini adalah anak benih yang kamu baru beli daripada kedai, kamu baru tanam di rumah, then mungkin anak benih itu akan ambil masa untuk anak benih. Young plant, you know what you call it, like young plant yang bibit. Okay, if you get a small plant, young plant from the shop, and you just bring it to your house and you plant it in your backyard, it's gonna take that little plant a bit more time to get used to the new environment. Okay, so very good answer, Marnie. For D, why is phase C slow? Kalau kita tengok dalam satu organism, kenapa di bahagian C, dia punya bilangan sel tiba-tiba tidak begitu cepat meningkat? Why is it decelerating? Possible reason is because a rate of cell replacement is now slower. Rate of cell replacement is slower. Mungkin memang sampai pada masanya untuk organism itu slow down sedikit dia punya tumbuh besaran. So that's also possible. It could be because of limited food or resources. Okay, kalau ini adalah pokok, mungkin sudah sampai musim kemarau. Ataupun kalau ini adalah pokok di iklim sejuk, if this is a tree that is in a place with 4 seasons, maybe it is near winter time. So ada masa yang dia akan slow down. Okay, and right, and then question E, ini masuk sudah untuk intermittent growth curve. This part, you can explain what is metamorphosis. Bagi definisi metamorphosis ada dalam lecture note. What is ecdysis? You give 2 sentences to explain ecdysis. Okay, ini 2 boleh rujuk kepada lecture note untuk jawapan. Okay. Untuk essay tu kamu tidak perlu buatlah. You don't have to do the essays. Because essay number 1 macam tiada dalam syllabus sudah bahagian ni. This part is no longer in your syllabus. Kalau kamu mau cuba buat question number 2, you can. Tapi sebab kamu punya exam kali ini tiada juga essay kan, so you don't have to. Okay, any problems with tutorial? Okay, step. Any other questions about chapter 10? I hope I'm not putting the rest of you to sleep. Tadi like, oh, okay, okay, sorry. Is it me lagging or you guys lagging? Okay, okay. I hope it's not me. Okay, you lag. Alright. Okay, so that is it for chapter 10. Begitu sajalah saya perlu explain. Kalau kamu ada sebarang masalah lagi, dapat yang kamu masih tidak paham, atau kamu baca pasal benda lain dan kamu terfikir dan kamu mau tanya, yes, feel free to do so. Okay. That is pretty much it, what I need to say for this segment. Now we take a quick 5 minutes break so I can stop talking, drink water, and then we will come back at 12:06 for me to do overview of semester 1 and also talk about the exam structure nanti. Boleh? Alright, terima kasih. How PSPM this time be carried out? It's gonna be carried out multiple choice online. Those of you in college will be doing it face to face. Those of you at home will be doing it online, but later. I'll explain on this later. Can you tell us anything, Tesla? Can you tell us anything about PSPM? No? What were you dreaming about, ma'am? What were you dreaming about, ma'am? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I disturbed your sleep. Okay, rehat. Hello guys, I'm back. I am here with the slides for what I'm gonna talk about later. Okay, sambil itu I see some messages in the chat. Farahin asking in the chat, ditanya, Miss akan share markah PB kah atau tidak? Saya tidak akan share markah PB sebab sepatutnya markah PB kamu adalah rahsia. Tapi kalau kamu sudah submit melalui GC, kamu boleh nampak markah yang saya bagi untuk lab report, video, dengan assignment. Okay, so your assignment is for 15% of your whole grade. Lab report is 15% of your whole grade. Your video for experiment 3 is 10% of your whole grade. Your UPS, ketiga-tiga UPS kamu punya markah ditambah, dibahagi, akan membentuk 20% daripada final grade kamu. So, 20%? Is it 20%? Oh yeah, 20%. So, you can calculate based on the results you already have. Nanti kamu cari balik result UPS 1, 2, 3 kamu, ataupun kamu punya result assignment, dan sebagainya. Or, if you want to save time, message me personally, and I can tell you each of your components. Tapi saya tidak boleh beritahu jumlah keseluruhan, itu pandai-pandai kamu kira sendiri. Most of you did alright. Ada yang lebih daripada 57 markah per 60 untuk markah PB. Ada yang not so well, like I think it was 40 something or 50 lebih saja per 60. Just considered low lah in bio. Yang dapat markah PB yang tinggi tahnya, sebab itu bermaksud kalau kamu tidak betul banyak untuk kamu punya PSPM pun, kamu tidak perlu risau sangatlah, because you have the continuous assessment marks. Continuous assessment is pentaksiran berterusan, which is the PB. Okay, so are y'all ready for this overview? So this overview is to see how far you have come. This semester feels like it went by very quickly. That's because you were very busy and you did a lot of shit. And, oh, sorry, I was not supposed to say that word. You did a lot of shiz. And there may be times during the semester where you feel like, what even is the point I'm doing this? Why is this useful? Why can't I do this in college? Why is my Wi-Fi terrible? Why does the government not give us good broadband throughout the country? You may have many, many questions, but what I want to say is you have come a very long way, and now we are going to look at what you did in the last 5, 6 months. All right, so very quick overview of semester 1. So, chapter 1, The Molecules of Life, was the only chapter yang saya rajin buat poster macam ini. So, chapter 1 saja yang ada poster cantik ini. So, chapter 1 we learned about water, carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acid. I made video for each of the subtopic. Kalau kamu sudah lupa-lupa, tolong cuba ingat balik. You need to, not need to. You already learn about water, properties of water, and then you learn about carbohydrate. Carbohydrate ada monosaccharide, disaccharide, polysaccharide, and then you learn about lipids. Lipid dia bukan cakap pasal lemak dalam badan kamu sahaja, dia cakap pasal jenis lipid pertama triglyceride, jenis lipid kedua phospholipid, jenis lipid yang ketiga steroid. And then we talk about proteins. Proteins are made up of amino acids. There are groups of amino acids. There are different levels of protein structure. They can be affected by pH and temperature. You learn about the formation and breakdown of dipeptide and also about classification. And you learn about importance of proteins because protein is important. Blah, 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 blah. You also learn about DNA and RNA dalam nucleic acid. And then we enter into chapter 2. Itu saja untuk chapter 1. Selepas chapter 1, kita masuk kepada chapter 2. Chapter 2, you start by learning about what is animal cell and what is plant cell. Same thing that you did during secondary school. Sorry, the cat is trying to climb out of the window, so I need to open the window. Meow. Dusty, you want to go out? Let's go out lah. Can go out? No? Ini anak dia. Maki, you get to look. You get to learn about this. So you learn about animal cell and also plant cell, and then you learn about organelles. Okay, berbagai organelle structure and function. You learn about the plasma membrane and the fluid mosaic model. Also in chapter 2, you learn so many things that you have to memorize. You learn about in animal tissue, ada epithelial tissue, nerve tissue, muscle tissue, connective tissue. In plants, you learn about meristematic tissue, dermal tissue, ground tissue, and vascular tissue. After that, still in chapter 2, you learn about transport across the membrane. You learn about active transport, passive transport. Okay, dalam active transport, passive transport, ada banyak lagi percambahan dia yang kamu sepatutnya tahu. That is it for chapter 2, and then you go into chapter 3. What you learn about in chapter 3, you learn about what is cell cycle, you learn about what is mitosis, you learn about what is meiosis, and this is also the chapter that I ask you to draw many cell, and then I ask you to submit your cell drawing. Good job on your cell drawings. And then, itu sajalah. Chapter 3 agak ringkas, agak pendek. And then we went into chapter 4. Chapter 4 is genetics. So first, we learned about chapter 4.1, Mendelian genetics, ikut Gregor Mendel punya ajaran. Kita belajar terminology. Lepas tu kita belajar pasal monohybrid cross. Dalam monohybrid cross, kita belajar pasal Mendel's first law, cell cross, test cross, dihybrid cross, you learn about Mendel's second law, and also dihybrid cell cross, dihybrid test cross. If you remember, this is also the chapter where I ask you to draw your genetic inheritance diagram carefully daripada parent generation, gamet, blah, 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 kasi silang, hafal dia punya nisbah. And you did a good job at that. Don't forget the ratio that you learn about in chapter 4. After we learn about the Mendel stuff, we go into 4.2, where you learn about deviations from Mendelian inheritance. Please remember what are the ratio. Okay, bila kamu tengok balik subtopic ini, ingat balik apa dia punya nisbah. Apa? Is it 1 to 1 to 1 to 1? Does it have like a very weird ratio like in linked genes? What are some normal common examples that we use for this subtopic? Cuba ingat balik. And last but not least, in chapter 4, we learn about 4.3, genetic mapping. This is if you want to calculate how far is gene A from gene B if they are on the same chromosome. Okay, so itu adalah untuk chapter 4, genetic inheritance. After chapter 4, we went into chapter 5. In chapter 5, it is about population genetics. So kita kira, kita kaji keseluruhan populasi. We learn about these terms. Kita belajar apa itu population genetic, apa itu gene pool, apa itu allele frequency, apa itu equilibrium. Dan kita juga belajar pasal Hardy-Weinberg law dan dua formula yang terlibat dalam Hardy-Weinberg law. Hardy-Weinberg equation number 1 and Hardy-Weinberg equation number 2. If you don't like hafal-hafal biology, you better get full mark for questions on chapter 5. Chapter 5, yang penting, paling penting, kamu ingat dia punya formula dan pandai guna formula. Dan jangan lupa, walaupun soalan untuk chapter 5 nampak simple, tapi kamu perlu baca soalan betul-betul. Pastikan step kamu betul. If you're calculating, remember to start from Q square. Jangan terus hantam. check your answers. If you confuse why the number like that, Miss, kenapa saya kira salah? Feel free to ask. Don't waste such easy marks during the exam. For me, this is very easy lah. Maybe for you, it is also easy. Maybe it is medium, but I hope you can get marks nonetheless. Okay, chapter 6. Ini yang panjang lebar sedikit, and maybe a lot of you were confused at this part because chapter 6 start becoming more confusing. So this is the part you learn about what does your DNA do, how does your DNA do the DNA replication, how is protein synthesized, how is your gene expressed, how is it turned on or turned off. Ini besar kemungkinan tidak akan masuk dalam kamu punya PSPM sebab kamu sudah buat kamu punya assignment. Kalau diorang kasih keluar juga dalam kamu punya PSPM, itu dosa diorang. Kita harap diorang ceret beret kalau diorang kasih masuk juga soalan ini dalam kamu punya PSPM. Okay. Conclusion is, I hope chapter 6 does not come out in your exam. It's not supposed to come out. Now we continue with chapter 7. Okay, so chapter 7 is about mutation, 7.1 and 7.2. So in 7.1, you learn about types of mutation, and also you focus on gene mutation. No, 7.1, you learn about types of mutation. 7.2, you learn about gene mutation. So gene mutation, ini dia punya definisi. Itu dia punya effect, and usual example, usually we use sickle cell anemia as an example, and another effect. Make sure you remember how these work. If you're still confused about this, or you forget already, feel free to ask question or do more exercise about this. Okay, ini 7.2. Lepas tu kita pergi kepada 7.3. 7.3 is about chromosomal mutation. Chromosomal mutation kita bahagikan kepada chromosomal aberration, which is changes in the structure of the chromosome, and there are 4 types. And we also learn about chromosomal number alteration, which is divided into aneuploidy and polyploidy. Aneuploidy, ini yang ada Down syndrome tu, ada trisomy, monosomy, ada autosomy, sex chromosome. I also gave you a few interesting videos about like Klinefelter syndrome and Turner syndrome girls. Okay, so maybe you remember a little bit about that. And polyploidy. Polyploidy, it can be natural because the animal wanted to with other animal, different species, or it can occur because of mutation. Mutation because of mutagens. Contohnya kalau kita letak chemical colchicine. Okay, so polyploidy, it can be divided into 2 types, which is autopolyploidy and allopolyploidy. So itulah mutation 7.1, 7.2, 7.3. Okay. Saya sudah bernafas. So sekarang saya akan teruskan dengan chapter 8. We're continuing with chapter 8, recombinant DNA technology. So this is when you learn to edit life. In 8.1, you learn about the tools used in recombinant DNA technology. These are the 3, 4, 5 tools. Make sure you go through and understand what are the characteristics of each of these tools. Okay, contohnya kalau pasal restriction enzyme, apakah ciri-ciri restriction enzyme? Dari mana datangnya restriction enzyme? Berapa jenis restriction enzyme? Kalau cloning vector, kenapa kita biasa gunakan plasmid sebagai vektor? Apa kebaikan plasmid? Untuk host cell, apa ciri-ciri yang penting yang harus ada pada host cell? Adakah apa-apa sel pun boleh jadi host cell? Atau dia mesti ada syarat-syarat dia? Modifying enzyme pula apa? Contoh modifying enzyme, apa fungsi dia? go back and learn about that. I think I asked you to do your notes for this one. So go back to your nota. All right, and then 8.2, we learned about the steps in gene cloning. Ini yang ichitas, isolation, cut, insertion, transformation, application, and screening. The part that is most difficult for 8.2, biasanya yang paling susah untuk 8.2 adalah part screening. Yang blue-white screening tu kalau kamu ingat. Kalau dia ada yang warna biru, ada yang warna putih, mana satu kita mau ambil? Kenapa? Kenapa kita ambil yang itu? Dan ini biasa gunakan contoh E. coli dengan plasmid. Okay, and then we went into 8.3, application of recombinant DNA technology. So this one, we use the example of human insulin that we grow in the lab, that we use E. coli as host cell. And also in 8.3, we talk about what is cDNA and how we make cDNA. And also we use recombinant DNA technology in other areas like agriculture, environment, and research. There are some ethical issues here and there, but usually we just continue with the experiment. Okay, dan itu saja untuk chapter 8, recombinant DNA technology. Then we went into the very long and very confusing chapter, which is chapter 9, reproduction and development, which is how the plant make the baby and how the human makes the baby and how the baby grow after you make the baby. So how does the plant make the baby? You learn in 9.1. In 9.1, you learn that plants have reproductive organ. The flower is the organ for the of the plants. In the flower, you can find enter. Inside the enter, you can find the male gametophyte developing blah 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 the pollen grain. Also in the flower, you can find the megasporangium. Inside of the megasporangium, you have these things that eventually become the embryo sac. And we also learn about double fertilization. I made you do some drawings about this, please. I think Ramai sudah submit drawing, so shouldn't be a problem there. I hope the drawings were helpful and the flashcards were also helpful. That's it for 9.1. 9.1 sedikit sajalah sebab bunga saja kan. Going into 9.2, we learn about male reproductive system and female reproductive system. We talk about the male reproductive system first. Guys have that, and you produce sperm, okay, through a process called spermatogenesis. This is your sperm. It's supposed to look like that. If it doesn't look like that, you may have fertility problems. These are the hormones that are involved in making this thing, which is GnRH, luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, and testosterone. It functions as a cycle. Okay, so dia ada cycle dia bermula daripada dalam otak kamu di hypothalamus, diikuti dengan anterior pituitary, and then it goes down to your testes. Inside your testes, you have your Sertoli cells and your Leydig cells, which will do the spermatogenesis and the making of testosterone. Di sini dia ada dia punya negative feedback loop. Try to remember that where you can. And this is also the spermatogenesis process. We talk about where does it do the mitosis, where does it do the meiosis. For males, it's quite simple. For females, complicated. So in females, first you talk about the organ. Okay, inside the organ is the ovary. Inside the ovary, you can find secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte is produced through a process called oogenesis. Oogenesis is influenced by these 5 hormones. Okay, and these 5 hormones also lead to the ovarian and menstrual cycle. Satu cycle berlaku dalam ovary. So ini yang tengah-tengah ni. Ovarian cycle with the follicle kecil, lepas tu follicle pecah, lepas tu follicle jadi corpus luteum. Lepas tu ada kamu punya graph, level LH, level FSH, level estrogen, level progesterone. Dan itu akan mempengaruhi ketebalan dinding rahim, which is in the uterine or menstrual cycle. Women are complicated, but it is a marvel of nature that we're able to live and produce life. Walaupun menyampah untuk belajar, tetapi kalau kita tengok balik, actually, it's quite nice to be able to produce children. And I don't know, this knowledge might be useful for you in the future if you want to have a family, or if you don't want to have a family. I don't know, whatever, up to you. Your life, not mine. But I hope with your biological knowledge, you can appreciate what is happening inside you, what is happening inside your partner or your future child. Drama pula. And then we talk about fertilization. I hope you guys are not fertilizing anything yet. You can do that when you're like older and you can raise a child or whatever. But once you find your partner and you want to make baby, you will do the and then after the you will have fertilization in the body. Fertilization is divided into 4 stages. Ada 4 stage untuk persenyawaan. This one we already talked about it. Go back to the video if you are forgetting things. But basically, after fertilization succeed, you can have embryogenesis. This is when the baby starts to grow from something very, very small, only one cell, to something so heavy, and then comes out disrespect you. Okay, so embryogenesis ada dia punya definition, ada dia punya stage, starts with cleavage stage, gastrulation, then organogenesis. Organogenesis, you learn about the definition. An important part about organogenesis is you need to know this lapisan of tissue called the ectoderm will later become what? This lapisan of tissue, this layer of tissue called the mesoderm later become something else. This inner layer of tissue called the endoderm later become lining of digestive tube and lining of respiratory system. That is important part about 9.3. And then we go into 9.4. 9.4, we talk about hormone and how hormone help baby grow, how hormone make baby come out. So how hormone make baby grow? Hormone that make baby grow is HCG, progesterone, estrogen. Hormone that make baby come out is when estrogen higher than progesterone, the green one higher than blue. Then another hormone called oxytocin and prostaglandin will make the mother say, you did this to me, until the baby come out. And that is it for chapter 9. Daripada kita belajar pasal bunga, macam orang dating pula, dia bagi bunga, and then you learn about the male and then the female reproductive system, and then they do the fertilization, and then the baby grow, and the organogenesis happen, and then later you look at the hormone, the baby come out. That is chapter 9. Bila Google Meet semakin panjang, saya pun semakin gila. Dan diteruskan dengan chapter terakhir, ini saya sudah overview tadi, jadi saya tidak mau mereleh. Panjang, bla 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 bla. Same graph. And that is it. That is what you did this entire semester. If there is any one of my video that you have not watched, what are you doing, man? Go watch my videos. Dan jangan setakat kamu print nota sahajalah. I know. My lecture notes look very beautiful, but don't just look at my lecture note. You must come up with your own notes. Kalau kamu jenis yang suka buat nota dalam satu keping kertas A4, dulu saya beginilah. Dulu saya jenis orang yang satu keping A4, satu chapter punya nota. A4 kedua adalah nota chapter kedua, contohnya. Tapi ada orang yang dia suka buat flashcard. Orang yang suka buat flashcard, dia suka kecil, and then sambil dia makan, dia tengok. Sebelum dia pergi mandi, dia tengok. Sebelum dia tidur, dia baca, tengok, hafal, baca, tengok. So if that is your style, you go and make your own flashcard. Some people, they like to talk when they study. Ada orang yang jenis, dia kalau dia diam-diam saja kan otak dia tidak bergerak. Dia mesti bercakap dengan orang. If you are that type of person, you go put on your mask or your face shield, you find somebody to explain about biology. Tidak kira lah dia mau dengar kau ke tidak. Yang penting kau dapat ulang kaji dengan bercakap. Then you go and revise by talking. You can also do a lot of exercise. Later, I will send you links to a few practice questions. Selain daripada perapi SPM yang disediakan oleh KML, kami ada juga set soalan perapi SPM daripada college-college lain. Setakat ni macam ada 2 set kan. I can share you the 2 sets. And we also have extra exercise for you to practice with. Exercise yang kami Exercise yang kami beri adalah set soalan, setiap set ada 30 soalan objektif dan merangkumi chapter 1 hingga 5 dan 7 hingga 10. Dan kamu boleh pelan-pelan lah, okay? I already gave you the overview of the semester. You should have your notes. If you don't, that's okay. There's still time to make it. Identify which topics are your strong point. Mungkin kamu lemah untuk chapter 9, tapi kekuatan kamu adalah pada chapter 7 atau chapter 5 atau chapter 4 misalnya. That's okay. Just make sure you can get as many marks as you can during the exam. Okay. So that brings us to the exam. Bila exam? Bagi yang berada di KML, 9 hingga 16 Disember 2021 adalah waktu exam PSPM 1. Face to face. What does that mean? You bring your gadget. Macam jawab online jugalah. Tapi kamu datang bersemuka. So you're not doing it in your dorm. You are gonna do this in the Dewan, in the bilik tutorial, in the Dewan kuliah. So datang kepada Dewan Peperiksaan. Berpakaian formal, tiada selipar, bawa dokumen-dokumen yang ada. Nanti kamu akan ada briefing untuk exam juga. Jadi nanti diorang akan bagi tahulah apa yang perlu bawa, apa yang tidak boleh bawa. You will have about 1 hour. You sit at your table. You answer the 30 questions. You read carefully, of course. And hopefully where you are sitting, the internet is strong enough for you to complete your exam with no problem. For those of you in KML, tanya? No open book. You have to put all the knowledge in your brain, come to the exam hall and answer. And then after you answer, you pray, hope for miracle, and then bila habis exam, kamu balik dorm. That's why you need to study. For those of you who unfortunately are still outside of KML, saya tidak rasa kamu mengelak lah. I think you are outside of KML sebab hari itu sedang bersedia mau datang sini, tapi tiba-tiba sini banyak case. So KML is like, I'm sorry, we cannot accept new people. And then you had to stay at home. Saya tidak pasti kalau diorang akan buka semula kemasukan pelajar untuk ke college. Kalau diorang buka semula kemasukan pelajar untuk college, meaning they let you come in, then take the chance. If they don't allow you to come into the college yet, kalau diorang belum lagi buka laluan untuk kamu masuk college, kamu terpaksa ambil exam PSPM di rumah. So, kalau kamu di rumah sekarang, 9 to 16 December, you study at home. Nothing for you to do online, you just study at home. And then you will have your wet exam. I don't know when is the date. Mungkin cikgu BI kamu ada bagi tahu, your English lecturer will tell you. After your wet exam, only then can you do your PSPM1. It will be different question. Okay, ada dua set soalan. Set soalan pertama adalah bagi untuk yang berada dalam kampus. Set soalan kedua adalah untuk mereka yang berada di luar kampus. Dan seperti ada yang sudah cakap sebelum ini, alah Miss, nanti cuti pun tidak tenang lah tu kan. Ya, cuti kamu tidak tenang sebab malangnya kamu tidak sempat masuk college sebelum ada COVID hari itu. But this one is online at your own house. So I don't know if you are looking at something else. I don't know if it will be using Google Form or a different platform. It will be 30 multiple choice questions. Jadi soalan objektif 30 soalan. Satu kali sudah kamu boleh jawab. Soalan dirangka oleh bahagian. That means bukan kami yang dalam KML lah yang buat soalan. This is like the whole Malaysia using the same questions. And I think it will be within 1 hour. You have to use your gadget. What else do I need to tell you? Macam itu saja. So Miss, kalau next year exam wet, so kami exam next year juga for PSPM SEM 1. Yes, Marnie. If you are at home, terpaksa tahun depan untuk kamu punya PSPM. Memang mereka mau bagi kamu masuk pada waktu yang sama, tapi disebabkan kes meningkat, bukannya kita boleh jangka juga kan bila COVID itu meningkat dan bukannya kita boleh buang virus itu terus. So, ini memang we are left with no choice but to do it like this. Why do they want to do 2 sets? Is to prevent people from sharing answers. Sebab yang dirisaukan adalah kalau kita buat serentak yang di dalam college dengan di luar college, mungkin yang di luar college itu sambil tengok nota, sambil dia message kawan dia yang berada dalam college, dan kamu kira kamu tipu lah kan exam, kamu meniru. So that's why they choose to separate the time. Okay. Any questions? Itu saja dari saya. Nothing? No questions? Can we go home after PSPM, Kamis? I don't know. I hope you can. Sebab Christmas juga kan. But it's really hard to say. Keputusan bukan di tangan saya. Keputusan terpulang kepada bahagian matrix dan juga kepada pengurusan KML. Tapi kalau ada update nanti saya beritahu. Kamu tahu berapa bila kamunya exam web? Bulan 1. Okay. Early January. I'll try to ask. No guarantee, but I'll try to ask and see if they have any plans for it. If not, for those of you who are thinking about Christmas, God is anywhere, so you can still pray on campus. Try to find people who you can be friends with on campus. Kalau tidak dapat balik, bagi yang berada dalam campus, carilah kawan, carilah cara untuk beriadah, carilah tempat yang lain dia kuat sikit and you enjoy using the internet there. And basically give yourself time to relax and release stress juga. This Thursday, kalau kamu punya pra PSPM punya soalan sudah kalau kamu punya pra PSPM punya score sudah kena rilis, Kamis ini saya mau buat perbincangan. Tapi kalau masih belum kena rilis, then I won't do anything about. Oh, sudah kena rilis. Okay, then Thursday we will do the Google Meet discussion lah. This is week 18. Next week is study week. Study week means no class sebab kita sudah habis syllabus juga. You want to ask me question? Feel free to ask me question. If they allow face-to-face consultation, I can come for face-to-face consultation. Kalau dibenarkan untuk bersemuka untuk tanya soalan, kita cari cara untuk bersemuka. Tapi kalau tidak boleh, then I will open Google Meet and you can hop in and chat with me anytime. And then after that is exam. For those of you who are in college. For those of you who are at home, keep studying at home. Any other questions before I end the video? Tiada masalah? Tiada soalan? Kah kamu tidur sudah nih? Okay, if there is no problem, then I'm gonna stop recording the video.